Hello, everybody. This is Pete from PA Labs, and this, I think, will be the last video on MapMaker for the moment. Um, we've gone all the way through all the features of building a map, and actually, I've come up with two bugs. One kind of funny was actually on the initial screen. You could only select the top game, wouldn't let you select the second. So that was a variable screw up. And then when you're actually putting the rows on the custom tables, the custom records, when you place them on the grid, the screen that popped up didn't give you a way to delete an actual record once it was created. So I fixed both of those. There's a new copy of the software out on the website for those who want it. And the last video here is going to be the export. So since we don't have a complete game map up here on our tester, what I'm going to do is open up the original war game that came with the actual software on the install. And what we're going to do is export this and then go and look at that. So I believe, let's see here. Let me go ahead and open up the folder where I'm going to put it. And so we can start with it being completely empty. And let's see, that's over on my D drive. Development, I went ahead and put it over here in actually it's in the project folder. Kind of keep everything together. I get a lot of these out here. So MapMaker, and okay, so here's the export folder. And what we're going to do now is we're going to come over here and say game export. Now, if you did not supply a path when you created your project for where it should be exported, this will initially just say your C drive, root of C. You can come over here and select any folder you like, and when it exports, it'll update your war game record with the path where you exported this. Another thing about the export I want to comment about before we export is the export creates a folder and then puts everything on the export into that folder. So you'll get a series of folders in your export directory, one for each export. And I believe I wrote the code to be able to go up to 999 on the count before it starts to start overlaying on numbers. So that I figured would probably be enough. So what we're going to do is click export, and you'll see a few changes. There's our folder popping up in the background, and it's done. Okay, so this all goes back to where it was. All right, I'm going to go ahead and minimize this, and let's come over here and let's look at what we get. So initially, well, let's go ahead and open these four, and I will let that open with my default editor for PNG files. And that, by the way, is paint.net, a tremendous graphics program. Bit of a steep learning curve, but my goodness, you can do in this tool is pretty impressive. And so I do have faster graphics programs, but this is my go-to baby that I always use. So it takes a little bit, and that's paint loading, and now it's actually starting to load our images and stuff in here. And a few of these, I believe, get to be pretty large depending on what you've done. And remember, all our graphics are kept in 128 by 128 hexes. So yeah, these are pretty big. So here they are coming in. Okay, so the easy one is the grid. As you can see, here's our grid for the game. This, by having this as a separate image file, it allows you to have the ability to put it on the map or take it off the map. That way, what you do is merely paint this image and then paint this guy right on top. Okay, so here's the map as it was defined in the screen. You have all the labels in. Actually, in my opinion, it looks pretty good. There's a little bit of overshadowing in here for some of these graphics, but I mean, I did the best I could. Is it perfect? Probably not to some people's standards. And I would encourage you to go ahead and build your own graphics and go ahead and put them in. You can go based on mine to see what's going on. As you can see, we have a mountain here. We have a raised plateau with trees on top. We have a river down here or a lake, and then you got some swamp, and there's some desert off to this side. Various rivers that flow through. So this is the actual game map with all the roads. And so this looks real peculiar, and I admit it does, but this is the square representation of the actual grid. If I come in over here, let's just grab a chunk up here and zoom in on it. Let's see, we can slide up and say, okay, yeah. Let's look at this. So our first square starts here and goes to, it looks like about here as a 64 by 60. If I can get my hand to be still enough to get this, there, that's pretty close. If I come over, where does it tell me? This is 65 by 64, so I'm one off on the width too wide and one short on the length. So if you notice, our hex touches the tip in the center here, tip in the center there. This little quadrant here is actually part of the next tile's spacing, and this little chunk down here is part of this guy. These two edges here are off the edge of the map. So if you cut this up into 64 by 64 hexes and then place them in their row column location, they'll fit nice and neatly right over top of whatever's there. So the idea for this particular grid here was to say, let's go ahead and zoom this back out, was to be able to do movement of units and be able to say, I don't want to repaint this massive grid to the underlying canvas that you have. You just want to be able to say, hey, here's the square where that belongs. Bam, paint this on top. Now what was there is hidden and it's back to the underground layer. Paint a similar type maneuver of the grid on top, and you will then have the unit no longer existing on the screen. You can then place the unit into its new location wherever it was moving to, and only with two 64 by 64 chunks of canvas being painted, you've effectively handled movement of your game units and pieces. Now, if you are doing a side scroller or platform game, this grid is basically of this sprite sheet is of virtually no value at all, because you're going to stay right here and you're going to move your character on top and jump to levels and climb ropes and ladders, and he's going to interact with this background, which is a completely different structure. But again, it's the same concept. Whether you display the grid, entirely up to you. Now, this right here is the distinct, and let me get this out of the way. This is the distinct graphics that makes up that entire screen. Um, and I will show you where the cross-reference is that tells you where all of these things occur. And we'll get to that when we get to the JSON. So here is your screen. Looks pretty good, I think. And let's go ahead and minimize that. And now let's go look at some of the JSON classes.